Okay, we are ready to resume the board meeting, and the next item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, I have two students here, Emily Minky and Kiara James will be giving the pledge. So come right on over to the middle. And there you go. Okay.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent job. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. And at this point, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move the board adopt the agenda as presented.
All right, thank you, Dr. Schumacher. Do we have a second for that? Mr. Mignot seconds. Any further discussion? Okay, you've all heard the motion. We'll go to a vote.
Thank you. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you, everyone. The next item on our agenda is school highlights.
Oh, this is one of our favorite times. And so we will be celebrating Teacher Appreciation next week. This week, we've had Principal Appreciation Day, and I think a principal or two may still be in the room. But next week, Teacher Appreciation Week. So here's the thing. Every custodian, every teacher in the classroom, every teacher that is a consulting teacher, we all treat them as educators and teachers, and they all will get some token of appreciation. But tonight we have our Region 2 finalist, Kansas Teacher of the Year finalist, Mrs. Kimsey, who will be coming to the podium, and she will be reading the proclamation for our Teacher Appreciation Week. She also will be available to answer any questions. Ms. Kimsey, as she comes to the podium, can you share where you have taught and how many years you have taught to our Region 2 Teacher of the Year finalists?
So I'm completing year.
Got it?
So I'm completing year number 39. And thank you, I know. I taught at Potwin Elementary. And then when Potwin closed, I moved over to Meadows Elementary. And a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to move into the math consulting teacher position. And now for 3 years, so we'll complete the third year here in May. But for the last 3 years, I've been at TCalc teaching the teaching pathway. So
And taking them to nationals all 3 years.
all 3 years.
With that, she's going to read the proclamation and then open it up for any questions that you have for Ms. Kimsey.
Proclamation of Topeka Unified School District number 501. Teacher Appreciation Week, May 6th through the 10th, 2024. Whereas Topeka Public Schools is proud to join other school districts and education organizations across the country in celebrating Teacher Appreciation Week, May 6th through the 10th, and National Teacher Day on May 7th. And whereas Teacher Appreciation Week is one of our most important observances because it brings attention to the teaching profession, which is worthy of honor and praise. And whereas success in Topeka Public Schools begins in the classroom, and our teachers are the people who inspire students every day and instill lifelong love for learning. And whereas our teachers are a dynamic force in the learning process and consistently exhibit their steadfast commitment to the students through their willingness to give of their time, energy, talents, and resources. And whereas we recognize that all educators play a significant role in the vitality and economic prosperity of our community because they are the people responsible for shaping our future. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Topeka Public Schools Unified School District number 501, Topeka, Kansas, does proclaim May 6th through 10th, 2024 as Teacher Appreciation Week. And be it further resolved that a copy of this proclamation be included in the minutes of the Board of Education meeting, May 2nd, 2024. In witness whereof, we, the staff of Topeka Unified School District number 501, do hereby affix the signature of our board president and the official seal of the Board of Education the second day of May, 2024.
Thank you. And we have a brief video, I believe, for Teacher Appreciation Week. All right, let me make sure. Dr. Gray, we have a video for Teacher Appreciation Week. We're going to play the video and then turn this over to any questions you may have. As he finds that video, this week that we're in, board members, if you're hungry for lunch or breakfast, go to a school because it's school lunch hero day on Friday. This week alone, we've been running around celebrating principals for Principal Day. All leading up to Teacher Appreciation Week. And that's perfect timing for the video.
All I have is the principal one, correct?
So the principal one is the one that we have? Yes. All right. Well, and I didn't know if we had a Teacher Appreciation one. So before we play the principal one, we're going to turn this one over to the board to ask questions about for our Teacher Appreciation Week.
Board members, questions, comments? Dr. Bonebreak. Dr. Bonebreak.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dr. Bonebreak, I love what I do. And I get up each morning ready to come to school. So that's for sure. I truly love what I do.
I did not hear you, Dr. Bonebreak. If you clear down here.
Mr. Tatum, I'm a much older person than you and I heard it.
Well, Miss Kinsey, you've been here for 39 years, so they apparently hired you when you were 4 or 5.
I knew you were my favorite.
So that means I'm a lot older than
There you go. There you go.
Mrs. Boley.
So 39 years is a long time to stay with an employer.
Yeah.
Why is it that you stayed so long and stayed with Topeka Public School for your whole career?
Oh, you'll get me crying. I started in this district when I was 5 years old. And I left long enough to go to college and came right on back. So I am a Topekan. My dad's a Topekan, and my parents have grandchildren in Topeka. This is home and this is where I'm supposed to be. And I love the kids. I love the families. This is who I am. I'm a teacher and I love Topeka 501 school district. I have no reason to ever think about going somewhere else. So this is me.
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Stewart Campbell.
Ms. Kinsey, I can't think of a better person to state this proclamation.
Thank
Considering your
you.
Background,
Thank you.
you're one of our regional finalists,
Thank you.
and how far you've taken your students. So, which leads to my question: what is it that you and why are they being so successful? If any insight into that.
So we hold them to a high level, no excuses. I had a student yesterday tell me how he was robbed of 2 years. And I said, how were you robbed of 2 years? And he said, from COVID. I said, honey, we were all robbed of 2 years. But it's all about that positive attitude and moving forward and having high expectations and no excuses. My daughter is about to graduate from medical school. We're very, very proud of her. And she spoke recently at an event and she said that she was raised where there were no excuses, A's were expected. So it's just having those high expectations, and every single kid can hit those expectations if you present them, in the right way. So here's what we want you to do. Here's how you're going to get there. I'm going to hold your hand. I'm not going to let you fail, but you're going to get there. So, and I think that's been part of our program over at TCALC, and is that the kids are, here's what we're going to do. And we hope that you'll fly right beside us. So expectations are important. So yes, they will rise. Thank you.
Dr. Schumacher.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, Randy, thank you.
You are a very important person in the Schumacher household, although you've only had one Schumacher.
I did, but
You
in
knew all
essence, that
three.
Theo.
Yeah. But being married to somebody who has their master's in education, when we first met you, she knew that you were special with the experience, but also keeping up with what was new and challenging the kids. And I think what's so exciting for me is now you're teaching that to the students and the people that we're going to need in 5,
next-
10 years
Mhm.
to come back and teach our next students. So I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. And you know, I love your family, so thank you.
Dr. Schumacher, I'm still her favorite.
That's fine.
I love technology. So to go along with what Dr. Schumacher said, I love technology and I've always loved learning. And I've enjoyed, you know, I'm over 60 and I'm gonna say that quietly, but I've got students who, you know, they're 15, 16, 17 years old and they'll look at me every now and then and say, you know how to do that? So yes, I know how to do that. You know how to make a YouTube video? Yes, get over here. Let's get busy. So I try to stay up on that, but I've always had a passion for technology. And way back when, Mrs. Billy Wallace and we were both computer classroom teachers, you know, and Miss Bully, I think I had you in the computer lab when I taught the adults to get us ready for Meadows, Williams, and Scott. And I'm crazy over technology. And when I had Dr. Schumacher's son, Oliver, we ran the Iditarod live every single day in the classroom. The kids could have sworn that they were behind those dogs themselves running the Iditarod. So I love technology. So thank you.
Mrs. Kinsey, how many Tatums did you have?
So I had your son who is Jack Murphy's age. Devin, right? So Devin was in the classroom next door to me, but I had Devin for reading. And then Olivia, I had her for reading also. And here I am, the math consulting teacher, but I had your two kids for reading group time.
Two of the
Yes, I
several,
did.
two of the
Mhm.
many. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, turn it back over to you, Dr. Anderson.
All right, with that, Mrs. Kimsey is our main highlight here this evening. We'll mention what other highlights in terms of Teacher Appreciation Week that we're going to be doing. I'll mention that briefly. And love to have Ms. Kimsey have a photo with the board. Clearly, she is an exceptional teacher and an example of the talent that we have in Topeka Public Schools. For those that are listening, we have approximately 2,500 teachers, approximately. But during Staff Appreciation Week, what you see on the screen for those that are watching, we have the kickoff day on Monday. And then from there, we have sweet treats that we'll be delivering, some shout outs. So if you want to go online and have a shout out on social media and mention a teacher, and we'll be taking some photos and just encouraging the public to show their gratitude, which goes into Thankful Thursday. So we'll be just sharing messages of gratitude for Topeka Public School staff. And then we are sending a small token of appreciation as well. Anything we buy in the district needs to be instructional. And so it'll be an instructional item. We also have some sweet treats, but an instructional item that that everyone will be getting that I think they may enjoy. And then School Spirit Day. In schools, jeans are a big deal, at least in Topeka Public Schools. And so they'll be wearing their school spirit. So board members, if you're visiting the school and you need a shirt for that building, just please let us know. We'll make sure that you get that. That's what next week looks like. As we concluded this week in Principal Day, which really is the month of October, but on the calendar, there is a Principal Day listed as well. So we celebrate them again in a variety of ways. Mostly it's their schools celebrating them, but WIBW, and Mr. Gowan's going to look for that little clip. And instead of showing a clip that we've created, which is on our TV station, WIBW showed up at Quincy yesterday. And there was a surprise for the Quincy principal, Miss Crow, done by her students and staff. So we might find that clip and share that with you for our principal for the day. Not principal for the day, for Principal Day. And then Monday, as we start Monday for Teacher Appreciation Week, it's also Nurse Appreciation Week. So when we get to talk about health today, Miss Denman will be joining us, and we have a little special surprise for her. And we'll mention that because Nurse Appreciation Week is also next week. So this is a great time to let folks know just you appreciate them. All right, we're going to see the clip for principals, and then if we could break for the photo with Miss Kimsey.
Schools all across the country are being recognized today, and right here at home, one principal got a special surprise. Look at that. Today is Principal Appreciation Day, and Quincy Elementary held a surprise assembly honoring their principal, Jolie Crow, for all she does for her students. At the assembly, students and staff surprised Crow with dancing, a video of the kids, and sugar cookies.
In my 24 years of teaching, I've never seen more love in a school. And if there's a need, she's going to make it happen. No need goes unfilled in this school, and we owe all of that to Mrs. Crow. The tone and the atmosphere she sets is absolutely amazing.
Principal Crow and her family were also gifted a trip to Legoland and the Sea Life Aquarium this summer.
And you can't get better than that, a trip to Legoland as a gift from the school for your family. So with that, we just want to thank all of our teachers, principals, nurses, and just really all of our staff for being a blessing and a lesson every day to every student. Let's go ahead and give Ms. Kimsey another thank you. And if we could take a break for her photo.
I think so. Yep, we're moving that way.
Thank you. With that, we've acknowledged really our teacher appreciation. We've acknowledged our principals. The lead for our principals is Mr. Dick, who is here this evening. And in terms of how many middle schools and high school principals we have and anything else that he'd like to mention, Mr. Dick, I'd be remiss if I didn't invite you, if you'd like to make a comment on behalf of principals. We've shown the video, but given that you are here this evening as well, we would love to turn this on over to you. Ms. Hoffman is the lead for middle school and Mrs. Sharp oversees elementary. Mr. Dick, would you like to make a comment?
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Anderson.
Yeah.
Maybe. Sure. Thank you.
Perfect.
I think just on behalf of all of the principals across the district, just like to thank all of you for the support that you give us. I believe there are roughly, by the time we count assistant principal, there are about 80 of us across the district. I know you know and appreciate the long hours and everything it takes to be a principal and all the decisions you have to make and the things that you have to do. And those things are easier to do when we have the support of the board and things like that. And we know when you have to do tough things that you're going to be supported. And so we appreciate that. I know my colleagues appreciate that. And so thank you. And thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you and happy Principal Day. All right. Mr. Tatum, I'm going to turn it back on over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anderson. The next item on our agenda is public communications. And Mrs. Lister, we have several individuals that have signed up to address the board this evening. Okay. So the first person is Crystal Manning. And Ms. Manning, please come forward and state your name and address. You have 3 minutes to address the board. As school board members, we have to make sure that the privacy rights of all USD 501 employees are protected. We ask that your remarks to the board be respectful. If you should have a complaint against a specific employee, please submit your written complaint to the superintendent. If your comments are about a specific employee, please speak in general terms. Please do not make any accusations about any employee. Please just provide your opinion about your relationship with the employee and the employee's contributions and strengths. Do not defame other employees or mention them by name. Board Policy 2050 requires that all complaints be resolved at the building level. And whenever a complaint is made directly to the board, it is referred to the superintendent and/or building principal for resolution. The principal and the athletic director are both here if you'd like to speak further with either of them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Crystal Manning. My address is 3829 Southwest Burlingame Road. Work with me on not saying any, I mean, other than who I'm speaking with, but my issue is that the head coaching position for Topeka West, I think that a person that applied for the position was treated unfairly. And this person has been with the District of 501 for 14 years and with the head coach for 12. Every other assistant coach that is in the District of 501 has not been with this particular head coach for as many as years as this person, and they have gone on to be head coaches other places. This person not only is, I mean, did he help build the program, the basketball program at Topeka West? He does a lot of other things. I mean, I don't think that the children were thought about when dismissing him as a head coach. I mean, he does a lot more than just coach. I mean, I can speak for me. Um, my kids were fatherless, and he stepped right in, didn't hesitate to help, and he does that with everybody. He has buried two of his students right there with the memorials right there for everything. He is more to us than just a ball coach. And I think that he was overlooked. I do. And believe I didn't come up here to point fingers or to bash anybody, because that's not who I am. But if I don't speak on it, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. I have to stand up for what is right. Everybody should stand up for what is right. And I think there's something truly wrong. Did I do that without mentioning names? Okay,
You did.
well, okay. I think that's, I mean, and I have an only son. I have 3 daughters and an only son, and I promise if it was not for this individual, I probably would have killed that boy because they're different. They're different than girls. You know, and I wished it would have panned out to where that I had a father in house, but I didn't. But God placed this young man in my life for a reason. And there's plenty of more parents and students that can say the same. My daughter wanted to do a peaceful protest, which I was like, you know, we're going to put this in God's hands. We're not going to do that. But she did get a brochure going around where all the kids that opposed of him not being where he should be signed the petition. A lot of people were afraid. We should not be afraid.
Your
Oh,
time.
okay, thank you. I don't get an
You
extension.
may finish your statement.
We should not be afraid to come here at the board meeting. A lot of parents and students were afraid to come here.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Manning.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. The next individual that I have who signed up to speak with us, Christy Dates. Miss Dates, please come forward and state your name and address. You have 3 minutes to address the board. As school board members, we have to make sure that the privacy rights of all USD 501 employees are protected. We ask that your remarks to the board be respectful. If you should have a complaint against a specific employee, please submit your written complaint to the superintendent. If your comments are about a specific employee, please speak in general terms. Please do not make any accusations about any employee. Please just provide your opinion about your relationship with the employee and the employee's contributions and strengths. Do not defame other employees or mention them by name, please. Board Policy 2050 requires that all complaints be resolved at the building level, and whenever a complaint is made directly to the board, it is referred to the superintendent and/or building principal for resolution. The principal and the athletic director are both here if you'd like to speak further with either of them. Thank you. You may begin.
My name is Christy Dates. Address is 3128 Southwest McClure Road. I am one of the parents of the students, piggybacking off of Ms. Manning, that this particular coach helped lay to rest. He didn't think twice when I called from off the court. Him going, I couldn't handle looking at my son's body laying there, but he was a phone call away. He went and made sure everything is okay. Anything I asked, he made sure it was done. I requested no photos. He stood at the funeral home to make sure no photos was taken of my son. This particular man is, I like to say, is beyond the court. He's not just a coach and that's in the community. He is the community. He's one phone call away. Don't ask no questions. I've called him before where I've had just a meltdown missing my son. His only question is, where are you? And he's pulling up. He not only does that for me, but my daughter as well. When she returned after her brother's passing, that was her safe place. She could go in there just to get a clear head. And he does that not only for my daughter, but other students. When we heard about this, my inbox went off. This is beyond me and any parent that is sitting here. This has the effect that not only present students, but past students. It's bigger than this. And this is just this is the start. Communications, and I think parents and players should be involved when it comes to picking coaches, because these are relationships that are built. We're molding these kids for a future, but what is this saying? You give your dedication, but you still can get looked over. It doesn't matter. So I'm just here supporting this particular person. Just want y'all to get an insight. It's beyond the court for me. My son did try basketball. He wasn't good at it, but because this particular man seen something in him, he decided just to be a manager of the team. And that was good enough for him. And his younger sister followed in his footsteps. She became a manager, all because of this particular coach. He sees something in each and every student, regardless of his female, male, and it's beyond it. If his phone ring right now, he's out of here. And I just think it should be looked at again. I just don't feel like he should be looked over. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Dates. Okay, the next person on the list to speak to the board is K.O. Nunu. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. Mr. Nunu, please come forward and state your name and address. You have 3 minutes to address the board. As school board members, we have to make sure that the privacy rights of all USD 501 employees are protected. We ask that your remarks to the board be respectful. If you should have a complaint against a specific employee, please submit your written complaint to the superintendent. If your comments are about a specific employee, please speak in general terms. Please do not make any accusations about any employee. Please just provide your opinion about your relationship with the employee and the employee's contributions and strengths. Please do not defame other employees or mention them by name. Board Policy 2050 requires that all complaints be resolved at the building level. And whenever a complaint is made directly to the board, it is referred to the superintendent and/or building principal for resolution. The principal and the athletics director are both here if you'd like to speak further with either of them. Thank you, and you may begin.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is K.O. Nunu. I live at 3225 Southwest 8th Avenue. I do have a clarifying question, if I may ask. I heard that you cannot name a name of a person to defame them. What if I wanted to praise such a person? Could I name a name?
Yes, that would be
Okay,
permissible.
that would be wonderful. Okay, thank you. I am here to advocate on behalf of Coach Hunter. There is an old business adage: culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. That is to say that the culture in a place overrides any immediate strategy. The culture trumps what happens in a particular place. I have only been in town for a few years. My son Caleb played for T-West basketball team, and I've been watching the culture. It is a culture of respect, a culture of loyalty, a culture of mutual support. That's what I thought I was seeing. And then I received the news only a few days ago. Culture trumps strategy. Now, I don't know the details of who may have been offered the job, what their qualifications are, whether or not they are awesome. I'm sure they are. But whoever comes in from the outside is miles behind Coach Hunter because he has been helping build this culture for 14 years. He knows the people, he knows the system, he's been helping build it. And if all that is true, why not give the man a chance to lead and build that culture forward? There are times when it is prudent to start all over, start from scratch. If your culture is bad, start from scratch. If you don't have capable leaders, start from scratch. That's not where we are. We have a good and growing culture, a capable leader in the building, willing to build on what he has been working on. Why not give him a chance? Anybody who comes in is starting from scratch. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nunu. The next individual signed up to speak to the board this evening, Anna Nunu. Ms. Nunu, please come forward and state your name and address. You have 3 minutes to address the board. As school board members, we have to make sure that the privacy rights of all USD 501 employees are protected. We ask that your remarks to the board be respectful. If you should have a complaint against a specific employee, please submit your written complaint to the superintendent. If your comments are about a specific employee, please speak in general terms. Please do not make any accusations about any employee. Please just provide your opinion about your relationship with the employee and the employee's contributions and strengths. Please do not defame other employees or mention them by name. Board Policy 2050 requires that all complaints be resolved at the building level, and whenever a complaint is made directly to the board, it is referred to the superintendent and/or building principal for resolution. The principal and athletic director are both here if you'd like to speak further with either of them. Thank you, and you may begin.
Thank you. My name is Anna Nunu. I also reside at 3225 Southwest 8th. Moving in the middle of your high school career is a daunting thing for any student. And when we moved here in June of 2021, that was what our son Caleb faced. Coach Marco Hunter helped our son Caleb make a successful transition. He helped him to connect with not only basketball summer workouts, but also those of soccer and tennis. And because of his proactiveness, Caleb was able to walk onto campus instead of being alone and trying to figure out what was going on, to stepping on campus and seeing familiar faces in a place that he knew he belonged. In the 3 years that we've been here, I've come to understand this is just the tip of exactly who Coach Marco Hunter is. He's a man of integrity, held in high respect by students and adults alike. He's been at the heart of a coaching program that is focused on growing mature young men through the pursuit of team and excellence on the court, in the classroom, and in life. And it's been a program that's been very successful during our time here. So it was with disbelief that I heard Coach Hunter had been passed over for the Topeka West head basketball boys coaching position. I could not understand how someone who's so invested in the success of our students at Topeka West wasn't given even an opportunity to show that he could also grow this program. Our son Caleb could not be here tonight. He asked me to share this note that he wrote. He says, I played under Coach Hunter for 3 years at Topeka West. During my time, I grew closer to Coach as a coach and a mentor. He's involved with my life on and off the court. He was always there for me. And this was not an outlier experience. He cared for our entire team like that, truly keeping our best interests in mind and trying his best to prepare us for our futures through basketball. He continues to look out for his players even after they graduate. I know I'll certainly be in contact with him as I go to college. Unfortunately, now it looks like I'll not be able to come and sit in on a practice or a game at West to see my coach. Coach Hunter has spent more than 10 years of his life dedicated to Topeka West and the players there. How is it we're searching for someone to fill this head coaching position when there's a person right here with such a profound connection to and care for the players, more than a decade of coaching experience, and who can keep the continuity of our basketball program strong and growing? We're in the business of education here in this building and in our schools. And I wonder what lesson are Caleb and his teammates and our students at Topeka West learning in this situation? Will they learn that it doesn't matter how loyal you've been, how hard you've worked, the investments you've made? Will they learn that you will be overlooked, that your sweat and tears and sacrifices will not be counted, that the culture of excellence that you have labored with others to build will be taken for granted? I ask, what lesson do we intend to teach our children? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nunu. Okay, the last person signed up to address the board this evening is Jennifer Davis. Okay. Ms. Davis, please come forward and state your name and address. You have 3 minutes to address the board. As school board members, we have to make sure that the privacy rights of all USD 501 employees are protected. We ask that your remarks to the board be respectful. If you should have a complaint against a specific employee, please submit your written complaint to the superintendent. If your comments are about a specific employee, please speak in general terms. Please do not make any accusations about any employee. Please just provide your opinion about your relationship with the employee and the employee's contributions and strengths. Do not defame other employees or mention them by name, please. Board Policy 2050 requires that all complaints be resolved at the building level, and whenever a complaint is made directly to the board, it is referred to the superintendent and or building principal for resolution. The principal and the athletic director are both here if you'd like to speak further with either of them. Thank you, and you may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum, and thank you for the opportunity to come here this evening in support of Coach Hunter to succeed Coach Bloomquist as Topeka West High School head basketball coach. I don't know if I will have as eloquent discussion with you all as some of my fellow parents, but I know Coach Hunter for quite some time. I've had 2 sets of kids come through Topeka West. My older children are 26 and 25 now, and Coach Marco was there then. They are not basketball players, but my younger boys are. And one thing that I know in emails that I shared with Mr. Buckendorf and Mr. Dick and with Ms. Nash is how proud I am of the basketball program that Coach Hunter has been so influential in developing at Topeka West. You know, it is very clear with some of the schools that some other Topeka basketball programs have encountered throughout the state that, you know, that isn't the norm everywhere. But when you go to a Topeka West basketball game, if you go out of town or you come to Topeka West, we're proud. I'm proud of the basketball program, the respectableness of the young men and what Coach Hunter has instilled in them. The other thing about Coach is that he has devoted years to Topeka West. Topeka West as basketball program, Topeka West, the institution. He's just a committed Topeka West faculty, and it just was astonishing to me that he is not lined up at presently. And I'll say presently because I think a mistake has been made and that there's an opportunity to undo that mistake, but that he can succeed Coach Bloomquist, who he has coached with as the associate head coach now for 12 seasons. He spent 4 seasons as the freshman coach. He spent 10 seasons as a JV coach. He is highly educated. He's like, I can't even believe that we're turning our back on this gentleman and not keeping him in our fold, because he is so important to Topeka West. He's so important to the basketball program. He's just a stellar individual, and I just don't think that there's anything that can make me think that he isn't the right choice, that he shouldn't succeed Coach Bloomquist. Principal Buckendorf mentioned earlier that we will have to agree to disagree, but I think there's an opportunity to right a wrong that has occurred. And I thank you again for the opportunity to share my thoughts this evening and for you to receive them. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. All right. The next item on our agenda, disposition of business by consent. And I'm looking for a motion for to move the business forward by consent.
I move the board approve the items of business by consent as presented and authorize the board president or superintendent to sign the special project and purchasing contracts for and on behalf of the board.
Thank you, Dr. Schumacher. Do I have a second for that? Dr. Bonebreak, seconds. Discussion. Ms. Stewart Campbell.
Yeah, I would just like to learn more about the Stormont Vale affiliation agreement. I mean, it sounds great. That's all. I just wanted to hear more about
Who
it.
would be the best person to field that
Might be
question?
Mr. Dick, the Stormont Vale affiliation agreement, and I will
I think
defer to him if we're up. Go right on ahead.
I think it's, we talked about it when we had our board meeting at Ross. We had, it's kind of the health pathway.
Mhm.
And so there's partnerships as far as some of the kind of moving into nursing opportunities, and Stormont Vale helps with some of that precepting. And I think bringing those students into the hospital, and potentially they help with phlebotomy.
Absolutely,
As
they
well.
do.
Okay, yeah, this is
Yeah.
ringing a bell. Yeah, I wondered if kids were actually going to Stormont Vale and.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
can speak to the
Okay.
partnership with Stormont Vale.
Mhm.
So we have a pretty significant partnership with Stormont Vale. Most all of that done through TCalc. So they provide several internships for us for many of the pathways at TCalc. In fact, almost all of the pathways have students that participate in some type of an internship at Stormont Vale. Those are paid internships at their regular entry level wage at Stormont Vale. They also provide all of the instructors for us for our CNA pathway and for our phlebotomy pathway. And so each semester we'll have roughly 40 students that participate in CNA. The phlebotomy group is a little bit smaller, but they're about 15 each semester that go through phlebotomy. They earn their CNA certificate. They work towards their phlebotomy certification. This is at no cost to the Topeka Public Schools for any of that. Stormont Vale provides the employees and the instruction, the scrubs, they pay for the testing fees, they do all of that for the students, including paying for the internship. And then, of course, ultimately, they hope to hire many of those students and employ them into the future. And they have done that for several students.
Mhm. Thank you. Sounds great.
Does that answer your question? Okay. Anyone else have any questions or comments about this motion? Okay, so we'll move to a vote.
Thank you. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
Right, thank you. Okay. That takes us to the superintendent's report.
All right. This evening, we are so excited to be talking about all things health. That was right on time. Mr. Campbell kind of teed it up, talking about Stormont Vale. We're going to shift and talk about the University of Kansas Health System. Real quickly, if you look at the website and you go to our strategic plan, so if you're watching online, just so you know where this fits, in our strategic plan, which is on the main webpage, we're going to go straight to the health and well-being area. And as you click on that, you will see the health clinic as one of the strategies within our plan. At the time when I first started, several board members really wanted to see a health clinic accessible within a school system. And the University of Kansas Health System, that phone call that we made, it was an immediate yes, and they went from there. So as you can see under student well-being, if you look down in that area, you'll see information about the health clinic and the purpose behind that. Having said that, this is the first time they are presenting to you as a board. So we're going to take that on off the screen, and I'll introduce both Dr. Ashley Dinkle and the administration for the University of, I see the campus care, the University of Kansas Health System, campus care at Topeka High. It's a mouthful. And our administrator, Mr. Warren Sylvester. They will both come to the podium and share a little bit about the health system, what they do, how many people are there, and then answer any questions that you have about why it's been put in place. But he is our senior administrator, Mr. Sylvester, and Dr. Dinkle is there serving children. And so it's funny, we were talking about librarians last time, and Mrs. Garcia, now Miss Sinclair, who oversees librarians, she said, Dr. Dinkle, that's my child's practitioner. So that's where she takes her small child as her main practitioner. So it's just nice to know our staff have a hospital right on campus that they consider their main place to go. I'm going to turn it over to the two of them, and let's give them a warm welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. As Dr. Anderson said, my name is Warren Sylvester. I'm the administrator in the Department of Family Medicine and Community Health and at the KC campus, so the main campus in Kansas City. We want to introduce you, I guess, to the details of the campus care clinic that's located at Topeka High School. Just to give a little bit of history, at least the history that Ashley and I can provide. Both of us have been involved with Topeka High School's clinic for about 3 years. The clinic itself started under a grant several years prior to us. And that grant, of course, has since really ended, and the full staff, the providers as well as administration have all changed, and things shifted to the Department of Family Medicine late 2021. Current state, we are seeing roughly 17 to 20 students per month. Today, we have about 142 patients, students, and staff of the high school having been seen just in this school year. We do see a marked change from year to year, increasing those patient levels and the services that Ashley's able to provide. We also have worked with athletic directors throughout the district to see students for sports physicals. And so I know that that's quite a challenge at times for the athletic directors as well as students just getting those physicals. And Ashley has done an amazing job just meeting that challenge alone, given the number of students that come through. Other than that, I am going to really turn it over to Ashley. She is the master of all things in this clinic. Again, thank you so much for having us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Ashley Dinkle. I'm the nurse practitioner, family nurse practitioner at the Campus Care Clinic, like Warren said, at Topeka High School. So I'm just going to share kind of a brief overview. So as Warren mentioned, we are owned by the University of Kansas Health System in Kansas City. We are open to serving all USD 501 students, staff, and household family members age 3 and older of students and staff. And we can be utilized as the primary care clinic for those who may not have a PCP or a pediatrician, Or for those that do have a PCP, we can serve as more of an acute care clinic or walk-in clinic when they need it. So this is part of the flyer that I'm hoping you all have in front of you. So this is just kind of our general flyer that we use for a marketing tool. So just kind of to highlight these common services I have in the red box there on the screen. These are some of the most common things that we provide. So over on the left column, wellness visits such as annual physicals, well child exams, the sports physicals, which we just do a $20 cash pay price for those. We do not bill insurance for sports physicals. We're able to do TB testing, which we do quite a bit of those for the job coaches at Topeka High with students that they're trying to get internships for. We also do some of the pre-employment physical exams for new teachers in the district. And then immunizations, we draw labs and send them off to the lab from the clinic. And then things like acute illnesses, such as like rapid strep testing, flu, COVID testing, urinary tract infections, sinus infections, respiratory infections, illness or injuries, things like that. And then the column over on the right, so for people that we serve as their PCP, we're able to treat chronic illnesses such as diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, asthma, thyroid, mental health conditions, and things along those lines. We can go to the next. Yeah. So the next slide here kind of goes over appointments, our hours. We have a medical assistant at the clinic, Jessica. She works Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 3:30. And I am at the clinic able to see patients on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We try to keep patients between 9 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And so on the days when I'm not there, Tuesdays and Thursdays, Jessica is able to help with answering questions, getting people pre-registered, scheduled, those kind of things. We ask that walk-in patients, especially those that are coming from outside schools, notify the clinic prior to coming to the school so that we can give the security desk at Topeka High a heads up that they'll be coming. And then on days when school's not in session, on clinic days, school's not in session, we offer telemedicine or virtual clinic days. So we're able to still offer to see patients even if the school's not open that day. We do bill insurance, including Medicaid, for the services that we provide. So with the exception of the sports physicals, which we don't bill insurance, we just do the $20 cash pay for those. We do bill insurance. And as far as the registration forms and consent forms must be signed by a parent or guardian for those that are under 18. And so we coordinate that with parents, whether we're able to email them the forms or they're able to obtain them from our clinic website, which is from the TPS website, to get the required forms back. So I made this slide just to kind of show kind of how our workflow is at the clinic with just myself and the medical assistant as our two staff members on site. So our perspective is a little bit different than a typical clinic, like a traditional healthcare clinic. Primary care model may have up to 5 or more staff members that help, navigate the patient through their visit to help them make it a smooth experience for them. And at Campus Care, with just 2 staff members, we're completing all these tasks. So this kind of translates into a different capability and mindset in terms of our patient volumes and our goals related to patient volumes. Next slide. Okay, so I have some pictures now next. So this is just a photo of the outside of the clinic, what it looks like. We're in room 101, first floor of Topeka High. And then this is a view of kind of right when you walk in the front door of the medical assistant's kind of office space / our waiting room area. And in the back, we have kind of a clinic or a supply room and office. And then this is my office, which also has an exam table in it we can use as a third exam room if needed. This is our lab draw / vaccination area. This is our primary exam room. It's the largest of the 2 main exam rooms. And then you can see on the wall of both of these exam rooms, we have the photos that we have. We had a photo contest at Topeka High with the photography class last school year where we chose 3 of the winners and had their photos hung up in the clinic. And this is our secondary exam room. So here's our contact information. Like I said, we're in room 101 of Topeka High. Our email address is thscampuscare@kumc.edu. Phone number 295-3256. And our website can be found from the TPS main website under the resources tab. That's all I have as far as slides. I like to open it up to anyone that may have questions for us.
And I believe is Ms. Denman on with us? Okay, great. So she is on as well. Our nurse is on with us as well. So if you have questions that kind of overlap into how that works together. But we'll turn it over to you, Mr. Tatum. I see Dr. Bonebrake already has his hand up.
Dr. Bonebrake.
I think I was at Scott Middle School or something. Anyway, I understand the number of individuals you might see is very low or lower than you can handle. My concern is it looks like, just going over the PowerPoint presentation, it seems as if somebody would be off-put by the fact, gee, I have to have insurance. Is that the case?
I'll let you succeed.
Well, as Ashley said, we do bill insurance. We also accept Medicaid. When students present, the fact is we're going to do our best to manage the level of care that we can provide them to the best of our ability. Even if that means at some point, maybe we're not able to provide the care immediately in this setting, we can connect them with another resource in the community that would be able to meet their need.
It says, for example, can be utilized as primary care clinic for patients who already have a primary care provider or pediatrician.
For people that don't have a PCP, we can serve as the PCP, but if they already have a PCP, we can serve as more of an acute care clinic for them if they.
But this is kind of off-putting. And I think that's one reason it's not being utilized as much as it should be, because it's quite a convenience. For a routine annual exam, you might be 4 or 5 months out to see your primary care physician, but you could probably get in that day at the clinic.
Right.
I just think the communication isn't there. I think it ought to be better utilized. Because I don't think you need to have insurance in order to be seen there, certainly acutely. I've got a fever and sore throat. But Medicaid hadn't been expanded in Kansas, so.
Yeah, as a physician, what alternative services are resources, I should ask, what alternative resources would we be eligible to provide in that setting?
Well, can I jump in here? Okay, so I'm a teacher for the migrant education program, and I have lots of kids who sadly don't qualify for Medicaid because of their immigration status. So thank God for Grace Med. Yeah,
Right.
Grace Med is where those in Topeka, I think of like kids I have in other communities where there isn't a Grace Med. I have to say, can you drive to Topeka? It's really sad that they're in this situation. So I'm guessing you probably refer students to Grace Med.
We do, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We work with Grace Med. Likewise, I mean, we have similar resources there in Wyandotte County in USD 500, very similar, where we use Vibrant Health and other resources available.
And Ms. Denman is on because this is not a replacement for our nurse. So our nurse is still there. So if you come down with a fever or a sore throat or something like that, or any of your typical kinds of areas of concern, you can still be seen by the nurse. Ms. Denman, can you speak to that cooperation, being so familiar with Topeka High? What are some of the things a nurse addresses, which you don't need insurance for? And then this is an add-on to that. And it is a gift because every place we called said no, other than University of Kansas Health System. So we renovated to make this work. And with their grant ending, they could have left. Despite the renovation and all of those pieces. So our meetings have been, how do we continue to ensure the volume is what it needs to be? But they have been subsidizing their own program since it opened. At the expense of their hospital, they've been subsidizing it so that we can still have the service and have them as a partner. But having said that, Ms. Denman, what are some things that nurses provide, which is outside of that doesn't require health insurance, outside of the campus care clinic?
So, when kids come into the nurse's office, we can take vital signs and take temperatures. We do have RNs that are available to offer just some guidance to families about different things that they can do at home, or some education about maybe allergy symptoms or cold symptoms and what those things look like. And we can kind of give guidance about, yeah, why don't you monitor tonight and see how it is tomorrow and give us a call. And we can kind of direct them based on what we're seeing and say, yeah, go ahead, and we recommend going on and getting seen by a physician. Or we can say maybe just monitor it and see if it, you know, may not progress and may just be allergies related. So we can just offer some education and guidance to families about when to monitor and when to go be seen by a physician. Personally, just as a mom and a staff member, I would like to say that the benefit that I see of this clinic, and I had told my nurses this when I handed out the flyers as well, to kind of provide some education to my RNs so that they could then spread the word as well, is I see it being an advantage if you as a staff member get a phone call that maybe your daughter or son is sick at school and has a fever and a sore throat. I find it very helpful to have a clinic like this that I can take my kid to in the middle of a work day and get them tested and possibly get a prescription in order to get them back home where they need to be with grandparents, or if they're old enough, they can be there alone while I can get back to work. So that is a definite benefit to staff members to be able to utilize that resource. I do have a primary care. I have my daughter does as well. But my thought was, wouldn't it be nice to be able to go to a walk-in very quickly and get some help with acute illness? So I see a bit of, I see both sides in what you're saying. I do see a benefit though to not only service our students, but staff members as well. I guess that's what I was going to contribute.
Thank you. And how many RNs do we have? Can you share what our nursing population is in Topeka Public Schools?
Sure. We have 4 roving RNs, and I am an RN as well. And then we have 2 SPED RNs as well. So there are 8 of us total. 7 of us total. And then there are LPNs and health aides throughout the district. There's about 25 LPNs and health aides as well. So at any time, roving RNs are available to come over to a clinic at any time and do some assessment and some guidance and education with parents as needed.
So our collaboration with Grace Med, which at one point wanted to open a clinic, Mr. Robbins, that was some time ago, wasn't it around Chase? And we were talking about health deserts, and they have attempted to secure grants for that, which would not require insurance in terms of those places where there's really no health resource there. Topeka High is in a place where our nurses and they can refer to other places that are clinics that don't require insurance. But if you are a staff member, and many of our families do have insurance of some type, or if you are, you mentioned our Ukraine families have enrolled and have used this clinic as well, as they have sponsors. So, if you're someone that needs immediate care, they are there to provide that. That has been an underutilized area, Dr. Bonebrick, as you have mentioned, in part, we believe, from our meetings, in part because the clinic, when it first opened, it was really for Topeka High. And we really did not advertise it as a school district because it wasn't intended for that. And the original thought was the title you would have a campus care clinic at Topeka West, a campus care clinic that was the original discussions. And so really it was intended to be a Topeka High clinic. Now, since then, we have expanded that thought and we have discussed a variety of ways in which to get to the benchmark goal. Now, it's not a regular medical office, so our goal is certainly not what you would see in a regular medical office, but more patients than what we currently have. I believe that next year, as we go into next year, that will happen because we'll put it on the registration form like we do with the library cards where people didn't have their library card. We put it on the registration form. They all now have a digital library access. Mental health, we didn't have mental health screening and we added it on the registration form and everybody now has that. If we put it at the beginning of the year, this information, not just on tables that people can get, but through our electronic resources to say you can automatically sign up. People would know that it's a resource. They know that it's available for emergencies if they don't have a primary care person. I mean, I think that's one of the pieces. So we're excited about looking at that growth, but having more health wrapping around families, both that's not health insurance dependent and some that is health insurance dependent, is we believe value added, and they have been an incredible resource for Topeka High.
Yeah, I was just going to add that, yeah, I get a lot of questions, phone calls about where can my student go for physicals. And so this thing is incredibly, beneficial and convenient. So I want to thank you all both for your partnership working with us. And like Dr. Anderson said, having information out above as individuals and families are thinking about registrations. They know their son or daughter is going to play fall sports. We know exactly what we can send them. And at $20, it's very affordable. So thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Dr. Bonebreak, did you get your original question answered sufficiently? Okay, well, sort of doesn't sound sufficient. If you're fine, we'll go on, but I wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity.
Have that added communication at registration beginning of the year, that information, because not everybody uses their computer and the PowerPoint presentation isn't as all-inclusive as to what might be available. I think that may help correct it, but it is underutilized and it's a tremendous asset that is sitting.
Absolutely. So we'll be adding it during registration and then we'll give the board an update about what what the volume looks like and the continued partnership, and agreed, it is an asset.
Okay, anyone else? Dr. Schumacher.
Yeah, I was just wondering from Mr. Sylvester, with KU being a larger, I mean, it's a big organization, and you mentioned USD 500. Are there other clinics in other school districts, and are there things that we're doing well or they're doing well, things that we can learn from?
So as I mentioned, Ashley and I both came into the Topeka High School Clinic together 3 years ago. It really has served as the model for which we are now talking with my director of community health in expanding school-based clinics, and really what the realization of that could be in various districts. So this is the model that we're wanting to use and expand upon. Admittedly, Dr. Bonebreak, we are certainly underutilized. We want to be better utilized. I think that there are many other opportunities as we get community health, as we get our research division also engaged in school-based clinics. I think that we have many other opportunities for resources to come online, as well as developing other clinics, not only in this district, but others. The only other, to answer your question directly about other clinics, nothing specific for meeting primary care needs. What we do have running through one of the high schools in Wyandotte County is what we call Bulldoc. And it is a clinic that is run by medical students, and then it's overseen by our family medicine residency, and then our family medicine physicians are precepting those residents. So it's not at all a primary care clinic, but hopefully maybe maybe soon.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Ashley, for everything.
Absolutely.
As a possible PCP to some of the patients that you see, we appreciate what you do for us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you all for your time.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. All right, so my son attends Topeka High. So let's say that we're not satisfied with our pediatrician. Okay, you're not laughing. Okay, okay. No, we love our pediatrician, but let's say that he's a really popular guy and yeah, and it's just whatever. He needs to like see his pediatrician sooner. He can just go to I think I need some more education, which I received tonight, which I really, really appreciate it. So he could just walk down to the first floor and
Yeah,
and
so
you'd see him?
really the things that we would need from a parent for a minor is
Mhm.
the consent form signed, which can be obtained from the website or from us if you contact us beforehand. And then, like copy of insurance card, those kind of things. But yeah, once we get him kind of scheduled, he can come down by himself and be seen and then
Okay.
go back to class.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that question
Yeah.
speaks to parents like you who don't realize you can go downstairs and use that. So again, when we think about enrollment, all those events that T-High has where they're talking to families, saying, here's where you go to get this, here's orientation.
Mhm.
Being able to somehow add that into their slides, but also in addition to registration for the whole district, but at T-High, you have a captive audience to
Mhm.
be able to say, if you want to use these three pieces. So that's a
Mhm.
piece with intentionality that Mr. Dick has talked with
Mhm.
Dr. Dinkle about, that you can anticipate for next year.
Mhm. Great. Okay. So if hypothetically, I actually have two children at Topeka High. If one just showed up, they then, because of the consent form, like someone would like call me or email me, I'd sign it, and then it'd be like,
Yeah.
and you could see the child.
Yeah, assuming that could
Mhm.
happen pretty quick. Sometimes we're able to do that. Other times we say,
Mhm.
well, let's give your parent an hour to
Mhm.
get the forms back to us and then you can come back.
Mhm.
We're not able to get the student out of class, so we always just
Mhm.
advise them to, have their parent
Mhm.
notify the school and then we can give them a pass back to class.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds.
And then the consent forms are an annual, so it's not for every
Oh.
visit, so they just need to be signed
Just
annually.
once. Okay.
Yeah.
Annually. Got it.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm really intrigued with the all 501 students, staff, and their household family members. So if we hear of like, let's say a Landon student whose parent, who's insured, doesn't have a PCP, that Landon parent,
Yeah.
they're 54 years old. They can go see you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mhm.
So how do we get the word out to our community about these, the service?
Well, so far we've tried using their flyers. She's come to open houses. She's met with students. So they've tried a number of things already.
Social
So-
media.
Go right on
Yeah,
ahead.
social
Mhm.
media, staff meetings at Topeka High, back to school night.
So she's done all of that. So we've said, what do we do on top of that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that goes back to the nurses, as Mrs. Denman mentioned, also gave out flyers. But flyers, I don't know that people necessarily read flyers. What we haven't done is a video to say, hey, I'm Dr. Dinkle. I'm right down the hall. We haven't done that commercial piece for the TV. What we haven't done is added on the registration. So our last conversation are, what are the next 10 things that we can do that are different? And if we do the next 10 things, I'm sure one or two of those things will stick. So we're excited about trying those new things on top of all the other stuff she's been doing. Again, I think for next year, I think you'll see the capacity look different. Mrs. Johnson in HR already had the vision and wisdom of saying, what about new employees? Why are they waiting for their doctor to get their TB test and all this other stuff? So our new employees are now using it. So we look forward to reporting back to you next year.
Okay. Mrs. Schmidt.
Yeah, I just have a quick add-on. So this reminds me, it's kind of reminiscent. The state of Kansas did something pretty similar. And they opened a clinic called Health Quest. And it wasn't necessarily to replace our primary care physicians or our acute care clinics that are in the community, but to partner with them. And then for state employees, it was an opportunity for us much quickly because you have the whole community of Topeka, going to primary care doctors, engaging their nurse practitioners for more urgent and acute things. And of course, the acute clinics, which if you weren't sick when you walked in, you'll be sick when you walk out. It gave state of Kansas people the opportunity to go to this clinic that was a little bit smaller, that was there just for them and their families to be seen quickly. So I think it's just a matter of finding that tweak in communication to our parents and our staff. And then you probably have more people than you know what to do with at that point. But if I remember correctly, it took the state a little while to get that momentum going as well. So I don't think that's unexpected with a new idea like that.
Mrs. Bowley.
I know that at the service center, we had a nurse there that gave vaccinations, flu vaccinations. Do we still have that in place?
We
on top
do.
of
We have a
this?
number of, yep, we do still have a nurse there. And I'm sorry, Ms. Dimon, I answered that. Do we still have a nurse at the service center?
Yes, we do. She's over there specifically for staff members.
And so I do also know in reports, Dr. Bonebreak, you were saying that a lot of our teachers don't take the time just to get their yearly physical. Is that correct? And so maybe out of the health committee as well, we can spread that word that it's so easy to do this. We got our own people here to help us get that physical every year, even when we're working. So thank you. Thank you. It's just so exciting to see what can happen and the service that you will give to our community when health is always a high priority for every community now. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, wait, I got a few more. So I'm just curious if you see many students from outside of Topeka High.
We have seen that increase over this past year because I track that every month, what representation we have from different schools. And we obviously I would say the majority are Topeka High, but we've seen, even service center employees, elementary, middle. I'd say probably the least amount of representation from elementary students. Yeah.
Right.
But staff members from all over. Yeah.
Really? Okay, and of this list of all of the care that you provide, what would you say are like the top three?
So for students, definitely sports physicals. The majority of students I see are sports physicals. Adults, I would say acute illnesses like, UTI or respiratory infections, those kind of things. And then adult physicals, annual physicals, kind of combined with the pre-employment physicals because kind of goes along with that. But I would like to see more well child exams. That's something that I think is definitely underutilized with students.
Okay, thank you.
I am a Topeka High graduate. I've had 3 kids graduate from Topeka High and one that's there currently as a junior. And I can tell you, I never stepped foot in the nurse's office while I was at Topeka High, for me or for any of my kids. But I'm impressed with what you guys have done with that space. It really looks open and welcoming. And I think my impression as a Topeka High student way back in the day was that it was kind of dingy and dungeon-like. It certainly doesn't look like that. So I commend you for making it, a space that's bright and open and cheery. And so I also want to thank the 3 of you for being here. Dr. Dinkle, Mr. Sylvester, and Ms. Denman, and for the continuing work that you do for our students at 501 and their family members.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We truly appreciate you and the partnership has been exceptional.
Thank you all for your time.
And as Ms. Denman gets ready to sign off, Ms. Denman, we heard it was Nurse Appreciation Week next week during Teacher Appreciation Week. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. And so Mrs. Denman, as she has joined you all, remember Ms. Votter, who followed her mother, who followed her mother. So Ms. Denman has quite the task of setting a new path for nurses, but one that builds onto the incredible work of the Votter, Ms. Votter and her family. And so, Ms. Denman, we thought that this year, from the full Burnett team, as part of your Nurse Appreciation Kickoff Week, that there is a wellness basket with a staycation. We heard that you have, you're married to, I believe, a physician yourself. You have children yourself as well. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And so your nurses actually sent a little note as well about the acknowledgement for you. And so you have a wellness basket with a staycation or a gift card, but you have to use it for something that contributes to your wellness. You can't use the gift card to go buy thermometers or something.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
and then there are a lot of other small things that we understand that you like that keeps you energized and going. And then some things in there for your children as well. So we look forward to celebrating you on Monday, as well as celebrating all of your nurses. Mr. Williams will be videotaping you and some of your nurses to have a nurse video on our television station, just as we'll be getting the campus care clinic as well taped so that we can share more about them. But we want to kick it off next week with you and some of your nurses, wishing everyone a happy Nurse Appreciation Week. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. So the next item on our agenda is discussion items in which we will be talking about the proposed amendments to graduation and attendance policies. You may remember we went over those last meeting, and so we are ready for some action on those items today.
I believe it's just discussion today.
Is it just?
I think our action item is the meeting schedule.
You're right. Thank you, Dr. Schumacher. I was reading the wrong one. Okay, so that is correct. The proposed amendments to graduation and attendance policies are on discussion items, not action items.
And with the policy.
Who is taking the lead on this discussion?
Yes.
So a lot of these changes are to be in compliance with the State Board of Education. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, yeah, Ms. Waitman. So we went over that. A lot of it is just obviously an update to what our current existing requirements in order to graduate. Requirements remain the same. It's just changes in order to make sure that we are in accordance with what is expected of all districts across the state. Ms. Whiteman, I don't know if you want to sort of jump in and sort of help me, bail me out here on that.
You're doing fine, Mr.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Which is Miss Wallace. She
Ms. Wallace.
policy committee and all the recommended changes and double check the policy twice to make sure it was correct. So Miss Wallace, I'll defer to you.
Okay. So the changes that are being presented are for next year's incoming freshmen. It will start with that class of students. And so they are pretty minor changes that align us to the new state requirements for graduation. So, and some things we have always been in alignment with. For example, we already require financial literacy, and we also already require speech. Those are two new requirements at the state level. And then there's some language change, as opposed to speech, they're calling it communication arts. And then there are some bigger changes in that they are requiring a STEM elective for all students, which can be a computer science class or an advanced math, science, robotics class. And then employability and life skills. And then there are electives that are being required that are specific to their pathways. And then there are the other couple of things that aren't course specific, but are changes are that the state is looking for 100% completion for FAFSA. And parents can sign a waiver excusing their students from completing the FAFSA. Otherwise, we're looking at getting 100% participation in that moving forward. And then the state is asking that with this 8th grade class, we start tracking what they call post-secondary assets. So a post-secondary asset, it comes from the idea that students who are engaged and active in school are higher performing. And so some examples of those post-secondary assets would be community service hours, youth apprenticeships, internships, much like Mr. Dick spoke of, industry recognized certifications, CEP or concurrent credit opportunities. But it also includes things like having your Eagle Scout or your Gold Scout or your 4-H Kansas Key Award, and or participating in 2 or more high school athletics. So again, it just goes back to the more involved you are as a student, the better performing you're going to be and the more likely you are to have a post-secondary plan.
And so we'll be bringing this back, next board meeting for action unless there are questions this evening.
Any additional questions or comments about, okay, Mrs. Stewart Campbell?
Yeah, I'm wondering what the rationale is by the state. So I don't know if you could speak to this. Why 100% participation in the FAFSA for students that have no interest in going to a post-secondary institution?
So the FAFSA, back when I was in school, you took it for scholarships and or financial aid. Now, to get any kind of a scholarship, you need to have completed the FAFSA. But a lot of our trade schools offer the opportunity for financial assistance and financial aid. And it's, required for student loans and those kinds of things. So it goes to scholarships as well as that financial aid piece. And it can be used for cosmetology school. It can be used for just a variety of trade schools as well.
So students who aren't interested in pursuing like a trade school or any, institution of higher education, they have to sign a waiver. Let's say they just want to start working at, Stuckey's. I don't know where that came from, but they still, they need to complete the FAFSA?
We would pursue a waiver that their parents sign a waiver, or if they're 18 or their parent sign a waiver.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Ms. Wallace, are we currently tracking percentage of individuals who apply for FAFSA right now, or is that something we'd have to start from scratch?
No, we look at that now.
Mrs. Bowley?
So there are requirements for more STEM classes. What are the STEM classes our students have the opportunity to take now?
So starting in 8th grade, you can get high school credit for a Project Lead the Way course, which is an app course. And then we have coding and robotics. We have introduction to computer science. We have multiple computer science classes, and we have added computer science courses over the last several years. Each year, when in the fall, when you guys approve course changes, we've added and added to that so that they have a pathway. It is a pathway in our schools to have a computer science certificate.
What goes under the engineering piece?
So we have coding and our engineering program at TCAL. They have coding and robotics, and they also learn to code the manufacturing kinds of robotics. So it's much more high-end kinds of robotics.
Thank you. I was trying to figure out the actual, like in my head, engineering, I'm thinking of structural engineering for bridges and those type of things.
We do some of that sort of thing as well, but the computer science component of that is around coding for manufacturing robotics.
Future jobs rather
Yes.
than, thank you.
Great discussion. Anyone else?
There's not, I don't believe, Mrs. Wallace.
Dr. Bonebreak?
Just wondering if there was a typing class, because there's all these computer classes, but where are you gonna learn to use keyboard?
In
So-
preschool, when you're given your computer.
We start some keyboarding during elementary.
Okay. So we will revisit this issue again for a vote next board meeting. And it will be on the action item then, but the action item today is the approval of the 2024-2025 board meeting schedule. So in order to move that forward for approval, I'm looking for a motion to actually make a formal approval.
I move to approve the 2024-2025 Board of Education meeting schedule as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Schumacher. Do I have a second? Mrs. Bowley seconds. Any discussion about this? Okay, all right. So you've heard the motion. We will move to a vote on it.
Vote is open. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you. All right, so we are at the bottom of the ninth. If this were a baseball game, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up with board member comments, and we'll start with Dr. Bonebreak.
I don't know if you remember an executive meeting a month and a half ago, a couple of juniors from a high school wrote letters to explain their positions, and they were barely legible. These were printed. And I guess we don't teach handwriting or cursive or anything of that sort anymore.
Yes, we do. It's a state requirement. We have standards for handwriting. Starting in preschool, we use handwriting without tears. And then we've used Zahner Blosser at third grade. They transition from print to cursive.
Do they use it?
I would tell you that the more digital work we do, the less handwriting students are being exposed to.
And this question's coming from a doctor.
Yeah. It took me at least 30 years to work that badly. But anyway, no,
And Dr. Bonebreak, I don't know that that's the norm. I think that's the cases of, some that you might see in their writing. I think, many people on this board who have children and many of the scholars that you see have beautiful penmanship. As college prep scholar wrote a thank you to the CBS crew within minutes. And it was not only beautifully written, but just very eloquent in her, and this is a seventh grader. So I think what you saw, and you may see that from time to time, some examples that aren't the norm. And certainly that wouldn't speak to the majority of the population.
what is that artistic cursive writing called? Calligraphy. Is that offered?
Not as a class, I don't believe, Ms. Wallace.
I'll take that.
Yeah, that's all I have.
All right. Mrs. Stewart Campbell.
I know, that was depressing. I remember that too. And I've seen some students with really horrendous handwriting. But to Dr. Anderson's point, I've also seen kids with beautiful handwriting, like so much better than mine. I mean, can you read that? Yeah. Anyway, so my only comment is I had mentioned to y'all before about this idea of a voluntary teacher cultural exchange with it doesn't need to be specific to 501, but just Kansas teachers in general with Paraguayan teachers. And I just have a little update about that. And it is that I have made contact with its KPP. I was trying to remember the name of the organization in Kansas. It's Kansas Paraguay Partners. So I am in touch with this woman who's the president, and she's like, "Oh, remember me? We worked together 10 years ago at ESU." And I'm like, "Wow, that was a blast from the past." So that was a nice little reconnect, and I was really happy to see that she's in that position. So Kansas Paraguay Partners is definitely interested in moving forward with some plan on how we could execute this. And in Paraguay, the Centro Cultural Paraguayo Americano, CCPA, is equally interested in doing such a partnership, such a cultural exchange. So anyway, I'm starting to roll the ball. So that's my update. I'll let you know when there's something substantial to report, but ball is rolling.
Sisyphus.
All right.
What?
Mrs. Bowley?
Since our last meeting, we had a technology committee meeting on Monday, April 22nd, to give an update on a few reoccurring topics and to engage discussion about cell phone usage in the classroom. Dr. Gowan, thank you. You're eloquent. We received an update about the Affordable Connectivity Program, which provides qualifying families with a $30 credit for broadband connectivity. Without additional funding, this program will only be partially funded through May and will be disconnected discontinued after that. As what this, to bring up a reminder of what this is, was allowing our students in our district to get connected to high-speed internet so that they can do their homework and connections at home at an affordable price. And it was subsidized by the federal government. And the federal government at this particular time has chosen not to renew this. So if you're able to write your congressman and say, you know, there's a huge necessity for our student learning to have this powerful connectivity to their affordable connectivity to their homes, or many of our students are going to lose that connectivity. And that will be a concern. Some people might ask about the hotspots that we handed out before. They just don't have enough, I'm going to say juice, but I know that's probably not the technical word, to actually take care of everything they need to on their Chromebooks that they have now. And so it could be helpful, but it's not going to be as good a solution as this. So contact your legislators. We learned that the online registration for 24-25 is now open, and registration can be done through the parent portal. We also learned how synergy teams have been actively helping to address data needed for special education reporting that we have to give to the state. And so that changeover and getting that information into our new system has worked very well. And finally, the meeting concluded with a robust discussion about potential considerations for cell phone usage in the classroom throughout the district. A few articles were shared, and we finally finished up the meeting, concluding with creating a committee within a committee to weigh in on with our thoughts. As a committee, we would decide that more viewpoints and discussions are needed. And so Mr. Reinhardt and Ms. Wallace will be forming and leading. Did you know this, Ms. Wallace? That's good. Leading a stakeholder subcommittee to seek input and consideration options on behalf of the technology committee. So we're kind of looking at maybe a possibility of some district policies to possibly put in place around this if we think that it should move forward. So I see a thumbs down out of the corner of my eye. I also met at the CASHA meeting, and there were some small changes in tennis, and the main thing that we actually voted on was trying to keep more academic time for our sports members and not be leaving like a full day out of their school time to go play their sports. And so kind of some regulations around how many of those would be possible if they need to have the full day. And so all of those passed, and I will be meeting with Mr. Dick to discuss what those discussions were around those votes and fill in Mr. Dick on all of that work. Just my comments. academic award programs and scholarship awarding at our high schools are happening. If you get a chance to go to Topeka West and Topeka High, Highland Park had theirs last night. Scholarships are handed out. Thank you to two of our leadership team here and our clerk. Scholarships were handed out to students at Highland Park High School, and they gave Mr. Robbins an award for all of his dedication to 501. So congratulations on that. And they intend to give him a volunteer award next year for all the time that he's going to volunteer at high school in his retirement. So they're already having that formed and made up. So distinguished staff celebration was really a wonderful celebration. And I thank the district for making those people feel so special in that awards time. We went to a STEAM presentation at Williams. They are doing some incredible things there, and they were showing off so many of the things that they're learning at Williams around their STEAM learning. So remember to support that STEAM school. It is really fantastic to see what these kids are able to explain and what they're learning. Robots competition is tomorrow. Students will be given presentations around what they're, well, I don't know. I'm going to find out. I'm going to be judging there. I'm not even sure what they're going to give their presentations on, but I'll report to you later on that. But I get to judge some presentations, and I'm assuming it's around programming, robotics. So we'll see how well I do there. But a lot of really good things are happening. And don't forget, graduation is coming up, and we're going to be celebrating our seniors big time. Thanks.
Yes, indeed. All right, Mrs. Schmidt.
So obviously cell phones is like a theme because we were talking about that in policy committee. And we've been sharing some articles back and forth about some schools that have implemented some restrictions around those to help our teachers out. Because we know that self-discipline's hard. It's hard when we're 50. It's hard when we're 15. Yeah, I always have mine. So that's something we're talking about in policy as well, along with, we had some members of the Human Resources Committee Human Resources Department come in and speak to us. It was fun. We got their input on a first look through at the HR policies that are out there. Ashamedly, it's been a few years since we've reviewed those. So we're getting those up to date and getting that all tightened up. So that'll be coming to the board here in the near future. It is a very busy time of year with honoring our staff and our teachers and our leadership. And we have lots of retirements, and we're losing lots of amazing people from the classroom level all the way up to our administration. So just be present in the moment. And when you have an opportunity to rest, take comfort in that moment of rest until the next event, the next day, and know that it only lasts a few weeks. But on that same train of thought, it's an exciting few weeks for the kids in school. I always remember the last month of school was just as fun as the first month. So.
That's true. All right, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, let's take a look here. So besides policy, yeah, we are having a couple of discussions, and we'll see some potential things come down the line. For Equity Committee, just a reminder, Brownview Board will have a reception, a commemorative reception here in our boardroom, 4:30 to 6 on the 16th. So that's before our next board meeting, where we'll be celebrating the women of Brown. So just be aware of that. See, it looks to be an amazing event, so don't miss that if you can. Thank you to so many of the churches who came out. I think it was this past Saturday, I lose track. And they're volunteering to help to make our schools shine. I spent some of my time with my wife over at Pine Ridge, and I think that playground stands out really bright. And so I know so many of us, we volunteered at a couple of other locations as well as staff. So I'm thankful to the churches who put together hundreds of individuals to sort of lift up our schools, and so we're appreciative of that. Congratulations to students who have passed the seal of biliteracy. We talk about that all the time, right? Highland Park and Topeka West and Topeka High. All of those schools have students who sort of put forth effort to sort of pass tests at the highest level of whether to measure whether they're biliterate. And we are very happy that there are a number of individuals throughout our schools who have passed that test. So congratulations to them. And my wife and I were able to complete our online registration flawlessly. We did have a question, but we had very attentive individuals who were able to answer our questions. So if you haven't yet, feel free to jump online and register your students now as soon as you can. That's my report.
Right. Dr. Schumacher.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. Yeah, Ms. Boley very well covered the synopsis that Mr. Gowan emailed out to us earlier this evening. But yeah, the Affordable Connectivity Act, it's unfortunate. And there are people pushing federally to get that extended, but it looks like the money is probably running out. And so we'll have to find other ways to help our students and our families. The weather has affected a couple of things in the last week and a half. And so I know Topeka High had to move their prom from last weekend to this weekend. And a lot of our partners in the community have done some big things to help the students still have a great experience this weekend. And so I appreciate Mr. Dick and his staff and the concern for his safety, but also some of those businesses that are important in helping our juniors and seniors enjoy their prom. It also affected the Topeka High Band Awards ceremony that was supposed to be 2 nights ago when we had the tornado warning. So I was able to enjoy that. And I saw Dr. Anderson there for a little bit last night, and then we enjoyed the band concert. We did talk about cell phones, and I hope that maybe, through different avenues, getting some more opinions and voices. Ms. St. Clair, our library director, she talked a little bit in technology committee about, I think there's definite disruption there, but part of our role is also teaching students how to use digital things wisely. And so, some restrictions, but also how do we make sure that they don't become almost 42-year-olds that are that struggle with being able to prioritize things in their life. And so I think just getting all the voices and all the input so we can try to do the best thing for students and staff and our parents. And then finally, I will be missing Mr. Robbins' ceremony tomorrow and reception. And when I was elected, one of my good friends asked me if I knew LR. And so your reputation preceded you. And I just have really appreciated the guidance and the support that you've given me personally. And I just wanted to make sure that I said that publicly. Thank you.
All right. So I have a few items. Thankfully, a couple of you have covered some of what I was going to say. Yes, we had the policy committee. I think Mr. Munoz kind of talked about, and of course, some of what the work of the policy committee is, we addressed tonight with the amendments to the graduation and attendance policies. So yeah, there'll be more things to come from the policy committee. ShareFest, I know Mr. Munoz talked about that too, but I was also a participant of ShareFest as most years I am, except for during the pandemic, I think, when we didn't have it. But my wife and I and several of our church members served at Eisenhower Middle School. So that, and there's plenty of pictures because Mr. Williams came and took some pictures and did some video of me. So there is that. But that was a good experience, and hopefully, I think Dr. Gray might be gone. I asked Ms. Denmark if she would send Dr. Gray the picture that she took of a group of us 501 employees that were or associated members that were there working. So hopefully she did send that to Dr. Gray. I know he likes to get a lot of those pictures that people just kind of take when they're around the district. I want to bring to your attention, fellow board members, an email that I received a few days ago. It's a request for support from the city of Topeka KDOT TA grant. And it is, they're requesting support for us to basically give a letter of recommendation, because the city is interested in funding three crucial projects from the Topeka Bikeways Master Plan: Southwest Fifth Street, Southwest Fourth Street and Willow Avenue, and Southeast Adams Street. These projects have been identified as key priorities for enhancing bike and pedestrian infrastructure in our community. The improvements will not only increase safety for cyclists and pedestrians, but also promote connectivity between various neighborhoods and amenities in Topeka. So they're just asking for a letter of support. We've done that before. Sometimes they send it to me. I don't know if they've sent it to any previous board. Okay. Often they send it to the superintendent, but for some reason we're getting it now, and so thought it would be a good idea to call it to your attention to see how you felt about supporting the city. Does anybody have any concerns or reservations about Ms. Bowley?
Do we know if there is a cost to our district for this recommendation letter? When we do the recommendation letter, does it put us in a position where we need to? I have seen that biking proposal, and there were some expectations of changes to our school buildings. And so that's not a part of this.
Dr. Anderson, you reviewed the letter too. Did you see anything?
What I
Concerning
Ms. Kramer reviewed it for us and shared it. This time they're not asking for anything from us. What I can do is attach it to the Friday update, so everyone gets a chance to see what they may be endorsing. Ms. Kramer prepared a draft letter that would support the concept but not commit the district, should you want that to occur. So she's drafted that as well. So
If
she
the
shared, she didn't
members-
see anything additional requested of us at this
Okay,
time.
they're asking for us to submit our recommendation by Monday, May 13th. So that
For a KDOT grant?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Do
if-
you guys want to see that? Do you want that
Yeah,
included with?
that would be great to have in the communication so we can just.
I'll
Okay.
send it to you on Friday. If it's due on Monday, since she's written a draft recommendation signed by the board, then I'll attach both of those if that's okay, your letter as well as what they're proposing. And Ms. Kramer said based on her review at this time, so presuming they're not asking us for anything other than approval of the concept and the idea, then I'll ask if any board member has any issue, then to let us know. And if you don't, if you give Mr. Tatum the go ahead to proceed
Yeah,
forward,
please.
we have the letter already prepared.
Yeah, and just to be clear, it wasn't a letter that I prepared. It was a letter that the district prepared, just kind of as a form letter to respond to the request for recommendation. Okay, so we'll,
It would be nice to work with the city to help them receive that grant,
sure.
but definitely if there is a cost to our school, we definitely need to do some more research about
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you.
And we could even say in the letter that Ms. Kramer wrote, we can clarify that as well, that, our support is given with the understanding that there's not a cost to Topeka Public
Oh,
Schools.
yeah. Oh, well.
So we can add that sentence in there as well, just to clarify that right now, she thinks that there's not anything expected of us, but to clarify that item. And the other item we might ask them is if we can get a 2-week kind of time frame, or a little bit longer, because your board meetings are every 2 weeks. So if they want the board to give a letter or approval of any concept, if they give a 3-week time frame, then you're gonna have a board meeting and have time to do it.
That's true.
before your next meeting. So it doesn't get you in between board meetings, having to write letters before your next board meeting if they're asking for the board's approval, just so you see what you're approving.
I can follow up with them and ask them if they would, in the future, give us
Few
longer lead times in order to meet and get these things formalized. Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you for that. The last thing I was going to mention, graduation. You guys got some information on your desks that at your seats that give you the hang placard. That's always very helpful for us. And then additional information on the graduation timings and other details. And Dr. Gray and his team do a great job of putting that information together for us every year. And wanted to just be sure, Dr. Gray wanted me to mention that the first graduation on graduation Saturday will be Topeka Highs at 9. So we'll go on stage at about 8:55. So it's important that everyone plans to be there about 8:20. Okay, so that we can get robed and get situated and make sure that nobody's running around at the last minute to try to get things in order. So he recommended 8:20. So that's what I'm passing on to all the rest of us so that we can keep it. What is 8:20? That's right. Please, keep 8:20 in mind for that wonderful day of seniors graduating. That's all I have. I'll be looking for some cookies as soon as we're done. I don't know where those cookies. All right. So apart from looking for the cookies, now I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Pausing for suspense. I move the meeting adjourned.
Do we have a second for that motion? Okay. Mrs. Bowley seconds. Any further discussion? All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor? Raise your hand.